shiver. Goalkeepers nervous, strikers they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello there, you're welcome to the channel. So today we're talking about Estevao Willian and his amazing performance for Chelsea in the game versus Bayer Leverkusen yesterday. And as well, we'll also have to talk about Benjamin Sesko completed his signing, completed his move to Manchester United, what that means, for Manchester United. Is he that needle mover? And then as well, we'll have to the other sort of news and topics I'll talk about. Chief among them is Alexander Isak. His move has been blocked to Liverpool. So let's have that discussion. Let's go. So first of all, Estevao Willian, super special performance in my opinion. I think it's one of those performances where you only dream of and hope that an 18-year-old, moving to a new country will be able to do. You don't really expect it. You just hope and pray that he's able to sort of hit the heights that he hit, and you hope that. And sometimes you even feel like maybe he comes off the bench, because when I saw the starting lineup, I saw Estevao Willian immediately started. And I'm like, wow, Enzo Maresca, you could have held fire a bit, because starting this kid, if he doesn't have a good game, with the way some Chelsea fans can be, and quite honestly, with the way fans in general can be, it could be a serious issue for the player. It could really damage his confidence. But what do I know? He played, and not only did he just play, he was super fantastic on the ball. His pace, his skill, his quickness to take a shot. Because a lot of times you see even very experienced wingers, they love to dribble, skills, shimmy, like your Anthony, drop of shoulder, do this, do that, without any end product. But he was ready to not only take on his man, but also to take shots at goal. And then as well, he showed immediate connection with Cole Palmer. And that's very important if you want to be at Chelsea at this minute, because Cole Palmer is just the most important player right now. You want to be at the club, you must have that sort of understanding with Cole Palmer, because everything flows through him. That's for one. And then as well, just to ensure that you will have your place in the team. I'm not saying Cole Palmer goes about saying no who should play, but if you want to be successful at Chelsea right now as it stands, you have to have that relationship with Cole Palmer, at least on the pitch, and they show that understanding. So beautiful play from Estevao Willian, and as well, one thing he showed for the goal that was really, I think, important for me, or that I really appreciated. I think it's something that a lot of people may miss out on, because everyone wants to see skills, everyone wants to see pace, everyone wants to see 30-yard shots, 40-yard shots, and I want to see those as well, don't get me wrong, but his anticipation in the box, that's what gave him that goal. And for a player who's just 18 years old, I think that's serious maturity levels, in my opinion. So, like what in the preview I did on Up Chelsea TV, which is a Chelsea fan channel, I said I'd give him a 9.5, because expectations high, because when you hear Brazilian wonder kid, he's going to take on the world. He's going to be, he's the next best thing after Neymar. All that sort of pressure on young shoulders. Sometimes players crumble. It's one thing playing in the Brazilian Brasileiro, being exciting in that league, and then when you move to Europe, it becomes a different ballgame altogether. So for me, overall, I think he had a good game. And as well, one thing that was also crucial and important for me to talk about as well is his versatility. Because the talk was in the interview, in the pre-match interview, Enzo Maresca said he could play anywhere in the front four or anywhere in the attacking lineup. But for me, I just feel like I don't think he can play in 9. I think 10 would be a bit tricky for him. But he ended up playing there in the second half when Cole Palmer was taking off, and he was very good in my opinion. So I think he was very good, and I think this makes for tactical flexibility, because if Chelsea ends up signing Xavi Simons, that would mean Enzo Maresca could go a 4-2-3-1, a narrow 4-2-3-1. That is, you playing with 3 10s behind the striker. And so for me, was really nice to see that he can actually play in those 10 roles. So if you have a Xavi and a Palmer, they can all three play together in that role. So top performance from Estevao Willian, and then as well want to also talk about Gerald Hatto. I think he had a very, very good performance in my opinion. He came off the bench for Cucurella. He was very good as well. And then we saw some academy players like Raksai come on, was good. Antwi was a bit tentative when he came on, as you would expect from an academy player. But overall, I think it was okay. Tyre Judd was also good. I know he hit a shot way over the top, but overall, I think he was good. His performance was decent. So for me, once again, I would say, Chelsea fans, do you really see the need for Garnacho? I don't see it. I don't see it. Probably it's one of those things where you sign him maybe for £50 million from Manchester United, because apparently Manchester United are demanding for £55 million. At least £55 million for Garnacho. So it's one of those things where you're able to get him for £50 million and then you sell him maybe £60 million come next season and hoping you can get a £10 million profit. But let's see how it goes. Gittins came on. I think he was decent as well because I think he showed pace, ability to go both ways, go two ways. But I think his stamina, he needs to work on his stamina. Didn't quite watch him that many times for playing for Dortmund, so maybe this something that has to do with preseason. During preseason, players just coming back from their holidays. He had a longer holiday as well. He did after Dortmund were knocked out. He didn't quite get to play any more games. He went off because he just signed with Chelsea, and obviously he couldn't play for Chelsea given that he was already cup tied. So he's still a little bit behind in terms of his fitness. Liam Delap came on, so he started the game. I think he was decent as well. I know a lot of people have been criticizing him, but that's what you get. Young players, you're going to get inconsistencies. You're going to get ups and downs. You're going to get a game where he's going to absolutely bully everybody, score 2 to 3 goals, and then you have other games where you wonder what's going on. But that's what you get with a young player, and not only with the young player, but a young player that is not used to playing for a side that dominates the play, dominates the ball, for the better part of the game, So that's it. So I'll come back to the Chelsea versus Bayer Leverkusen game, but for now, let's go on to the Manchester United discussions around Manchester United. So for me, Manchester United, they signed Benjamin Sesko. That's good for them. But for some reason, I've been seeing some, over the top, or I'll say very clever hype around Sesko. Trying to put him in the same conversation with Harry Kane, trying to polish and shape him to look like, he's the best under 23 striker in the world when he's not. Whatever happened to just saying this striker is good? He's a very good young striker. He's shown decent form. Hopefully when it comes to Manchester United and plays with better players and plays in a better organized situation, in a more high-profile team, he can come good and maybe he can develop and grow with this team alongside the young manager. Whatever happened to those sort of, narrative? Not criticizing the player, for saying the player can come good, he can improve. But the way a lot of media outlets have been going, trying to shape him to feel like he's ready to go and product already. Some saying he had more shots than Harry Kane. What does that mean? So, and without talking about the outcomes, so he had more shots than Harry Kane, but Harry Kane scored more goals than him. So, how does that work? But good player, I think, decent player, but he's not quite at the heights. And we've got former Manchester United coach coming up to say he's better than Erling Haaland. No, not in your wildest dreams. Not in your wildest dreams. Maybe he can someday be better. It's possible. Nothing is impossible. I give him like a 5% chance, or better than Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland has been dominating, has been a dominant force as a number 9, right when he was a kid, from Molde to Salzburg to Dortmund to Man City. He has been dominating. So whoever is trying to blow smoke up United fans, that Sesko is better than Haaland is dreaming. You might say he's slightly taller than Haaland. Okay, that's it. Erling Haaland is electric in terms of pace. He can finish. Far post, near post, header. So I don't get how you just automatically say he's better than Erling Haaland. He's a good addition to Manchester United. I think he's better slightly better than Rasmus Højlund. I'll say maybe 7 goals better, thereabout, or 6 goals better, because Rasmus Højlund only scored, was it 8 goals, and then Manchester United splurged 75 million euros on him, and he scored whooping 13 goals, and Manchester United have splashed 80 plus million euros on him. So fair play. Let's see how it shakes down for him. Do you think he is good enough? How do you think he will adapt to the Premier League, Manchester United fans? Thoughts and opinions on Benjamin Sesko? Let me know. That's your thoughts and opinions. And in this whole saga, in this whole transfer saga, transfer merry-go-round, you've got the Isak wanting to go to Liverpool, Liverpool interested in getting Isak, Newcastle United, wanting to sell him at least until they're able to get a replacement. They have their eyes now on the likes of maybe a Jackson, have their eyes on Samu Agehoa. I think he's changed his name. That used to be Samu Amorujan. Now it's Samu Agehoa, the FC Porto striker, who I think can be a very good striker as well for them. Maybe Eddie Howe may be able to shape him into the finished product. He's electric in terms of pace. He's powerful. He makes the right runs in the box, but he still has his rough edges. But still, scoring double figures in FC Porto is not it's nothing to sneeze at. So good performance. So a good transfer target in my opinion. And then Newcastle United came up this morning with a huge bomb to say, Isak, we're not selling you. So you can throw your prams, you can throw your toys out of the pram, but we're not selling you, we're not letting you go. So that's an issue. How would this end? How would this mad transfer window end? This mad transfer story end? I think this is the craziest story so far in this transfer window. They said, Isak, we are not selling you. But that's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Now, it's one thing if Isak says, okay, you know what? I've made my noise. I've showed Liverpool I want to join them. I've made my feelings known, but I will be a professional about this, and I'll come back when when Eddie Howe and his coaching crew are ready to let me join. The team, to train with the team and be part of any part of preseason I'm able to catch and move on to the Premier League. I'll be there and ready for the squad. But we all know it's not going to be that. We've already seen some reports about Alexander Isak being infuriated. So that means he doesn't like that at all. So what would that make of Newcastle's season? What would that make of Newcastle's season? For me, I think Liverpool overdid this whole thing. I don't think Ekitike was on their list. Newcastle United wanted to sign Ekitike, and then Liverpool wanted to sign Isak. And Newcastle felt like the deal was not moving as quickly as they wanted, and went on to press on and push on to get Ekitike right under the noses of Newcastle United. And now they're still trying to get Isak. I think if they had allowed Newcastle United sign Ekitike, then I think Newcastle United may have been would have been a lot more open to letting Isak go. But at this point in time, I think Newcastle United feels slighted. So how would this whole thing shake down? In my opinion, it's going to be really, really messy. This is going to go down to the end of the window, right down to the wire, in my opinion. So just some opinions, let me know what you think overall about this whole thing. Let me know about what you think about this whole Isak business. So for me, I was like thinking he doesn't want to go to Al Hilal. We've heard from Fabrizio Romano that he only wants Liverpool. So I think Liverpool, if you want a player, maybe you stomp up the cash, you pay £150 million for the player. And I think while Liverpool fans may be saying, bring, give me Isak, give me a Ekitike, we've got Salah, keep bringing. I think at some point during the season, you're going to have a clash. You're going to have a clash of egos. You're having people say, we can play with Isak, we can play with Ekitike, we can play with Salah all starting, and then as well, we'll be able to give Rio Ugumoha game time. I don't see how that will happen. Because I don't see how that is going to happen. And are you going to now say, Ekitike, you're going to play out wide? So I don't even see why Liverpool are all too crazy about getting Isak. But I guess Premier League clubs have a lot of money to spend, so they might as well. Because I don't, Ekitike is going to play him as a winger. He's going to play some sort of wide role where he shifts and comes back to the centrally to sort of weird role. Anyway, Anna Slot will sort that out if that indeed comes to fruition. So let me know your opinions on Isak and Newcastle United saying they are not going to sell him, at least not to Liverpool at this point. Do you think this is more of a ploy to get Liverpool to speed up, their transfer dealings to increase their offer, maybe come up with 150 million pounds offer? Maybe is that what Newcastle United are doing, or you think they're really, really serious, really serious and want to absolutely keep Isak? For me, I think that's just playing with grade, in my opinion, because when a player doesn't want to be at the club, are you going to force him to play? Are you going to force him to be committed? And then as well, his teammates as well. The teammates that right now feel slighted, they feel like, he's let them down. They feel like he's not part of the team anymore. How are you going to reintegrate him with his teammates? So that's another thing to consider. So just some opinions on the whole Newcastle, I don't want to say fiasco, but I want to say messy situation. We have with the triangle, you have Newcastle, Alexander Isak, and Liverpool. Let me know some opinions on that one. And then Estevao Willian, super performance yesterday in the preseason friendly for Chelsea against Bayer Leverkusen. He was super fantastic, and other players were very good as well that came on. Dario Esugo, think about, man. Think about Dario Esugo, super special performance for me because for one, now if Caicedo has any knock for a couple of games, you have a body in there. And also for me, I think this allows Enzo Maresca, because I'm all about tactical flexibility going into the season. Enzo Maresca, this allows him to be tactically flexible, right? If you get to a situation where you're playing against a Man City, you're playing against an Arsenal, you're playing against Liverpool, and maybe you suspect that they might dominate the ball, more than you. So what would you do? I would say you play Esigo, Caicedo in that midfield, then Cole Palmer, Estevao Willian, Gittins, Jao Pedro, go do your thing. I think that's what I would go for in some games. Bring the double physicality, twin dragons, if you want to put it that way, or twin lions, that's what you want to say. The physicality of Esigo, physicality and mobility of Caicedo, place them in there. He's good on the ball. His passing was crispy yesterday. His energy, covering every blade of grass as well. Very, very good. So kudos to him on that. So happy with his inclusion. Chelsea fans, I want to know what you think about Dario Esugo and how he performed yesterday. I think he performed very well. And then we look at players like Gusto. I think Gusto was decent as well. And it was good to also see Reece James come off the bench to play. And then in the centre back issues we have to talk about. So Chelsea fans, how do you think, the board and Enzo Maresca should solve this whole centre back issue? Are you one of those that feel like the Chelsea board or hierarchy should go out there and sign another centre back? For me, I'll say this: I don't see the need, because I know and Chelsea will not go and sign any 28-year-old, 29-year-old, 27-year-old super experienced centre back. It will be another 19, 20-year-old again. And since Kobe, before he got injured, was beginning to come into his own, was beginning to show levels of maturity, and maybe he's out for this season, but could be back for the start of next season at the latest. And you already have Tosin already is in the building. You've got Chaloba, you've got Aaron Anselmino that Chelsea fans seem to be sleeping on. Aaron Anselmino, we know, was a highly rated centre-back, highly rated player in South America, highly rated in Boca Juniors. Just like we have Estevao Willian, so highly rated. Estevao Willian, Aaron Anselmino is highly rated as well, in my opinion. Estevao Willian, highly rated as well. So give him that game time. have a combination of people: Chalobah, Tosin, Estevao Willian, Aaron Azamino, in addition to, of course, Chalobah, Tosin, Aaron Anselmino, Wesley Fofana as well. He's back fit. So you have 4 centre backs. So instead of going out there to sign another 19-year-old, and of course, don't forget you have Mamadou Sarr on loan. So you can always recall Mamadou Sarr at some point in the season. So I don't think Chelsea go out there and splurge the cash on another centre back. But let me know your opinions on what you think with respect to the centre back situation at Chelsea and the overall performance of the team. And I would say I was really impressed with Enzo Maresca as well, because he showed some tactical flexibility, and that was one issue I had with Chelsea last season. Playing that from the back was nice, but each time teams would actually press and squeeze Chelsea into their own box, that was always an issue, because there was no plan of bypassing that press. It was always we're going to pass through the press. And each time that attempt was made, you saw the likes of Robert Sanchez losing the ball, passing the ball out to an opponent and conceding goals from that. But yesterday, we saw that Enzo Maresca was willing to allow the team play the ball long into space to the likes of Estevao Willian, right behind the Bayer Leverkusen backline. So, what the thoughts opinion about that? I'm happy about that. He's seen that. I'm sure the PSG game, he tried that. He saw how beautifully efficient that was, and said, okay, I'll adapt this in games. Of course, you want to dominate possession. You want to play from the back to attack. That's fine. My problem last season was there was we didn't have enough games where Chelsea actually were adaptable and read the pitch, if you could say so. So when the opponent comes up with something different, you're able to react to it. So I'm happy to see, that tactical or philosophical shift in Enzo Maresca. So happy with that one. And then as well, Bino Gittins came on, was very decent, exciting pace, had skills. Love to see those step overs right from this or R9. So love that. But I think his stamina, his physical fitness, he needs to work on that a bit, because at some point he was just too tired. More tired than Estevao Willian, that actually played most of the game. So. And then speaking about Liam Delap also started that game for Chelsea. He missed a good chance where I just put the cross into the box and in swinger. So fair play. I think for Chelsea fans, that's what you should be ready to see. You have games where he will dominate and play well. You have games where he will struggle, where he will show his youth. So that's what I think Chelsea fans should be open to embracing this in, because that's what you've signed up for. Signing such a young striker, an inexperienced young striker in that regard when it comes to playing at the absolute top. Adebola Oluwaseun Fumi. Is it true that Tosin has decided to play for Nigeria? Slightly different topic, but I still think there's nothing concrete yet on Tosin if he's going to play for Nigeria. There's nothing concrete. We've heard the rumors and several outlets saying, since someone on X saying it's done, it is finalized, but we haven't got anything official yet. But it seems likely. It seems very likely that Tosin will get to play for Nigerian Super Eagles. So let's hope and pray and see how that all shakes out. So, and now back to apparently Arsenal are playing today in a preseason game. Playing against Bilbao. How's that game going? So, it's nothing has happened with that game. So speaking about Sesko, Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United, deal done, everything sealed. Let's see what happens. How do you rate that sort of, let's say, move or deal? For me, I think it's okay. I think if Manchester United actually have a serious project, if they have a project where you're looking at the next 2 to 3 years, then fine. But the thing with Sesko and Manchester United is, the moment he steps in there, the pressure is smack on his back instantly. Instantly, that pressure is smack on his back, because I'm sure Manchester United are tired of the likes of Rasmus Højlund. So you don't want another Rasmus Højlund, because let's not forget Rasmus Højlund was highly rated at Atalanta. Atalanta, despite the fact that he scored 7 or 8 goals, he was highly rated, seen as the next big thing, seen as the guy to compete with Erling Haaland, But he came into Manchester United, the pressure has just been too much for him. And though he keeps saying that he doesn't want to leave Manchester United, he wants to be at the club and fight for his spot. But I don't think in Amorim's system there's really room for 2 strikers. And for a striker that costs that much and probably will be on high wages as well at Manchester United, I think they'll really want him off the books. But then again, when you look at it, who is the second choice striker for Manchester United? Because while at Chelsea, I've said you can't have 3 strikers, but one thing for sure, you can't go into the season with just 1 striker. That's not going to work. You must go into the season with, you have your main guy, so Sesko in this case for Manchester United is the main guy. But as well, you should have a backup striker. You should have a backup striker, in my opinion. So it's not something where you just go 1 striker, because you have injuries and you have fatigue as well that you have to manage. So maybe Højlund as the second choice striker, or maybe Chido Martin. Chido Martin, Nigerian, eligible youngster, ready to play for Denmark and Nigeria. Maybe he becomes the actual backup. I think his contract, he'll be earning lower wages anyways than Rasmus Højlund at this. So maybe if Højlund leaves, then he gets to be, the second choice, the direct second choice striker to Benjamin Sesko. Now, another issue with signing a young striker in Benjamin Sesko is Chido Martin doesn't have anyone to learn off. I get it, Sesko is slightly older than he is, but Sesko is still learning his trade. So is there much he can learn off him from? Let's see. And then that also means that at some points, Chido Martin will be sold. That just the way his stock is right now, I think he's one of those kids where there's super belief, in him and in himself from his camp, that they will see him as someone that should be leading the line somewhere else. That should be leading the line somewhere else in a team. And so having him on the bench predominantly as a backup may not be something that his team would want. And so that's what, when you sign a young striker like Sesko, an academy player like Chido Martin may want to leave. So let's see how that all shakes. Tell me his opinions on that one. So Adebola Oluwaseun says, talking about Chelsea's performance last night, honestly, I like what I saw from the boys, especially Palmer and our wonder kid. Yeah. I agree with you on that one. 100%. I agree with you. And yes, there's something I almost forgot. I have to say this about Palmer. Palmer is beginning to do some things I said last season. Because usually last season, Palmer would always be on the ball, wants to play that killer pass, wants to be the one that makes that pass that creates the goal, makes that pass that is a direct assist to the striker. And sometimes he would lose the ball. Not a lot of times because it's Cole Palmer, but sometimes he would lose the ball. But in yesterday's game, he showed a level of maturity that I was really impressed with. The ball would come, you hold it. Estevao Willian, where are you? Have the ball. Ball coming, you look at you, where are you? Tariq George, have the ball. Or where are you? You're making that runs. Liam Delap, have the ball. So that was something I wanted to see last season when he was struggling for form. I said, Cole Palmer, sometimes you don't have to give that killer pass all the time. Sometimes you just let the game come to you, hold the ball, let it go, make some runs, get the ball off your teammate, let the ball go again, get the ball off your team and let it go again. And he was doing that a lot of time. And he was also making runs into the 18-yard box, doing his dribblings, gliding through the pitch as usual, as normal, and that was fine. And I really, really appreciate, I was really happy that level of maturity is beginning to come into his game. Because sometimes with attacking players, when you're the main player like Cole Palmer and Chelsea, and you have a player like Estevao Willian, who is a young wonder kid coming into the team, sometimes you see some players wanting to overly prove themselves. wanted to overly say, I am the guy, want to hog the ball, glide past 4 or 5 players to prove that they're the guy. But super happy for Palmer that he's gotten that level of maturity. And that's nice to see. And that means the team is actually growing. And for Estevao Willian, I can't say enough about the guy. I can't say enough about the player. He was super. Everything you wish from a young player coming to a new country, coming to a new league, playing his first club, his first home game for the club he's just joined. Everything you would wish that you tick off your list, he did it. So come in, be composed, look like you belong. I keep saying this, I think that's a joke sometimes, but when you're playing football with mortgage-paying men, whether you're 16-year-old, whether you're 15, whether you're 19, whether you're 20, when you're playing with grown men, you want to look like you belong. You don't want to look strange. The highest compliment someone can pay to you as a youngster making your debut at the club is this guy looks like he belongs. This kid looks like he's meant to be here. I didn't really feel like he's a youngster. So, but look at his frame, look at his face, he's a kid, but he really showed maturity in the game. And one thing I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm on Up Chelsea TV. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're a Chelsea fan, you can subscribe to Up Chelsea TV as well. So, but was not just his dribbling. Of course, you expect that from every Brazilian winger and most other wingers from other countries. Well, you expect that dribbling, you expect the skills, you expect the pace. But end product, he showed his desire for end product. You get the ball, open up your feet, smash the shot. Once you look to bend the ball far post, I think that was even going in. The ball came off the head of a Bayer Leverkusen defender. Checked out again to the left foot, smashed the shot. The goalkeeper almost shot the goalkeeper's eyes. But I'd love to see that. And then for the goal, it may not have been super fantastic how he scored the goal. But that's the sort of maturity I want to see in Chelsea players going forward in the season. Because the likes of Alan Shearer have said this before, that if you are active and alive in the box, that can give you, 10 goals a season, double-digit goals. And he indeed showed that, in that goal. Showed anticipation. Cole Palmer took the shot, came off the crossbar. Came off the crossbar, and he just was there, easy days, tap it into the net. So Adebola Oluwa Sharon Fumi says, my thought on the issue of the centre back, I think we don't need to buy another centre back. If Vega will want to stay, it's a better option. Now, I agree with you to some extent in respect to we don't need to sign centre. Chelsea don't need to sign centre back. I agree with you in that regard, but the Vega thing, I think that would be a bit messy because the way Enzo Maresca treated the player, the way the club has treated the player, I'm not quite sure he would still want to stay at the club. I'm not quite sure because Enzo Maresca has even kept him out of the squad. Like Funkunku, Vega, Chilwell, Sterling, they're all training on their own, doing fitness in and around the club, but they're not training with, the main group that know they're going to be at the club. So bringing him back in now, well, like you say, it's up to Vega if he says, okay, I'm ready to sweep everything under the rug and we go on like nothing has happened, but something that actually indeed happened. So that may mean he may really want to go. But that being said, we've got Tosin. It's already there. We've got Chaloba. We've got Aaron Anselmino. We've got Wesley Fofana. And for Wesley Fofana, I think the way it should be used is his minutes should be super managed. Super managed. Maybe play every other game. And then as well, you have Aaron Anselmino. He's super highly rated. A lot of clubs wanted him. Madrid wanted him. A lot of Premier League clubs were interested in him before Chelsea, they got him to sign for the club. So that's an option to look at. And then Manchester United fans, want to ask you once again, how are you feeling about Benjamin Sesko? How are you feeling about him? There have a lot of media outlets trying to prop him up a bit. I think he's a decent player. He will come good. But do you see him as that final product that can just come in and deliver from the get-go? because he has everything. He's spacey. He runs the channels. He's tall. But his goal scoring record isn't that great, in my opinion, for a striker that you think should be playing at an elite level club. That's if you still think Manchester United is an elite level club. So some opinions on Benjamin Sesko. And overall, what do you think about your team right now? You happy with your starting lineup, Manchester United? So you got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, you've got Sesko. So happy with that starting lineup. And Rasmus Højlund, do you want to still keep him at the club? He says he wants to stay at the club and prove himself. But for the wages he earns, and I think Manchester United would want him off his books. And right now, I think Amorim would want to play with a set starting three. So maybe let's see how that happens. And then we also talked about Newcastle United. Let's talk about Newcastle United and Isak. This is just going crazy, 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 and crazier by the minute, by the moment. Each moment you hear some crazy news about, Isak. So Newcastle United have said, like I said on top of the show, they're not going to sell. They're not selling Isak to anyone. So what are they going to do? So they're not going to sell him. Is he going to even come back and train with the club? I don't think that's even going to happen. And I think that's the situation right now is just really, really, really messy, in my opinion. They've told him they're not going to sell him. So for me, I think the way he has handled the situation just makes it a little bit difficult, a little bit strange and odd to have him in the team, to have him train with his teammates. Someone who's decided to leave training, someone who's decided to train with his former team, at least on the facilities and grounds of the former team, as opposed to being with his teammates. And Eddie Howe has said, you can't just come back and train with everyone. You have to prove to us that you really mean to stay. And maybe that could be code for, Isak, you have to sign a new contract, because they have been offering him a new contract and he has been refusing to sign. Now, if I would dare advise Isak, my advice would be this: sign that new contract extension and have a very favorable buyout clause in the contract. So maybe you say £35 million. I'll give you one more season, just like Cristiano Ronaldo gave Manchester United one more season. You could say, I'll give one more season. I'll sign this new contract, but I'll get a super affordable release clause, say £35 million, and I can now include some specifics. Okay, if a club that wins the league title comes for me, I must talk with the player. If a club, in Anfield that wears red comes for me, I must speak with them. So you have that in your contract, in your release clause. So you give them this season, go again, play for the fans, score as many goals as you can score, but who even knows if those fans will even accept him? Those are the questions that need to be answered. So let's see how that all shakes down. So Adebola Oluwaseun Fumi asks again, or says again rather, I understand you, but I think that Vega made a great mistake by leaving in January. Because of that, the manager doesn't trust him anymore. Now I see your point, but there's a game. I may be wrong, but this is just my opinion. This is where I think some Chelsea fans were a bit harsh on Vega, and this is where I think Enzo Maresca lost Vega, because a lot of people say he just wants to play centre back. But if you remember, when the season started, Vega was open to playing that left back role, and he was part of the what I call second unit of playing the cup games and Carabao Cup and Conference League. But then that Everton game, because one thing I tell people about footballers is a lot of footballers respect hierarchy. While they're fighting for their chance, they know who is better. I know this left back is better than me. I know this striker is better than me, but I'll be training. If he gets injured, if he gets suspended, then if he maybe has a personal holiday or whatever, then will be my opportunity to step in and take advantage of that, gap of that opportunity. But the Brentford game, Cucurella got his with a fifth yellow card, and that meant he was suspended for the Everton game. And then when he was suspended for the Everton game, I'm sure Vega would have been feeling like, okay, Cucurella, monster of a player, but he's missing right now. So this is my chance. This is my opportunity. And then what did we see? We saw Balogusto, a right back, playing at left back. And that's the psychological thing managers do. When they want a player to leave without coming out to say, I want the player to leave, a few things they do. Play a player that is meant for a different role in your position. And I think that's the sort of, I say, stroke that broke the camel's back, or at least the final, whatever that made Renato Vega say, okay, I'm out of here. At least let me go somewhere else, and play even if it's on loan. So I think both Maresca and Vega, they're a bit culpable in this whole mess. So, and some people are saying Hato should play as centre back. Hato, maybe if you're playing a game and you want some tactical flexibility, yes, he can just fit in there. But to be a proper centre back, he's 5'10". I think that's pretty short for a centre back. If he plays, let's see if he can play there. So let's see. For me, I'm open. I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans are open. If Vega can come to the table, sit around the table, have a discussion with Enzo Maresca, and they can come to an agreement, and he decides to stay and play, fair play. I think Chelsea can do with his physicality, and his presence. Now, on the Newcastle thing, just some opinions on Newcastle United, on Isak, Estevao Willian, at Chelsea, super special. And I think maybe the next game was AC Milan, I think on Sunday, I don't think he gets to start. I hope he doesn't start, because I want his minutes managed from a Chelsea fan's perspective. So if you're a rival fan, what do you think about Estevao Willian? Manchester United fans, what do you think about Sesko? What do you think about the business you've done so far? Do you think you need a goalkeeper? Or you're happy to go with Onana? Happy to go with him? Because I just think, just like Chelsea, the goalkeeping situation isn't that great. The gear, I'm sure a lot of Manchester United fans who would have done with the gear today. I think he was at Old Trafford today for their preseason friendly game of Fiorentina. So overall, so those are the major topics that we wanted to discuss. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. And I would like to say the Premier League is about to start. If you want to be part of this panel to discuss Premier League games, react to the Premier League games, let me know in the chat and I'll reach out to you. So thanks so much for watching and supporting the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. See you on your